starting. Jerry, it's starting.
Take it easy, baby. Give me a hand.
Get this up.
Yeah, I'll get up. You stay here. Can you get out of the gown by yourself?
Arise, ye prisoners of salvation. Arise, ye wretched of the earth. A better world at birth.
Gone. Life is gone.
Shut it off. I'll go upstairs. You will meet us in front with the car.
He's here. Oh, just knocking at the door. Oh, such a wonder. Come on.
Gas will be having a baby if not downstairs in a minute.
Like it.
Best thing you've ever done.
But do you like it?
I love it.
Good.
Yeah or no? Come on.
Bastard cheap car. How are the pains? Grotesque?
Oh, they're all right, guys.
All right. Hear what she says. All right. Such a darling. Such a heart. Come on, climb in.
I will go right. Thank you.
Such a darling. Hey, be careful. Careful. Don't bump.
Can you really hear the heart?
Sure can.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
You will. In a little while. I think we'd better get you down to delivery. You're about due.
Could I see my husband first?
Sure. Mr. Coleman? I'll see you in the delivery room, Mrs. Coleman.
What did he say?
He said he could hear the baby's heart.
Really, isn't that wonderful?
Jerry, call my parents.
If you want.
Promise me.
I will.
Ready, Mrs. Coleman?
What?
I love you.
She looks like she's laid out.
At least let us be people, even if they can't.
You think they would talk to you?
I don't know. I don't care. They asked me to call him, I did. It's up to them.
Listen, it's just because what you are, a painter, not a doctor or lawyer, which they wanted Lee to marry. This is no big thing. Forgive them.
Me? No, not ever. Lee called him and called him and called him. They wouldn't even talk to her. What's she ever done to harm them, huh? Well, come on, what's she ever done?
Yeah.
Marry me? She's their only daughter.
To them you want him to talk? Mr. and Mrs. Iceberg.
Listen, inside they are screaming for someone to hold their hand out or for Jerry to talk to them. Outside is one thing, but inside...
They tell me your husband's an artist.
You should come see his work.
I'd like to. Sure you don't want anything?
I want to see my baby being born.
This is nitrous oxide.
No.
If the contraction is too much, just squeeze. It'll release automatically. Okay?
It's taking awfully long, isn't it?
No, some women take longer. Who are those people he's with?
Friends,
I suppose they're Lee's friends also.
I suppose. God knows what kind of people she's associating with. Do you think he got her a good doctor? I mean, during the pregnancy.
Doesn't look as if he had very much money. If only she'd asked us to help her. I'd like to talk to him.
Funny, I was thinking almost the same thing. Do you really want to?
Okay, Mrs. Coleman, push. Push, Mrs. Coleman, push. That's it. That's it. Push. Come on, Lee. That's the girl. That's the girl.
The head's out.
His face, all right. Is it?
Lovely. Lovely. What do you want, Lee? A boy or a girl?
Jerry wants a son.
Bet you $1 it's a girl.
You're on. Now just one more big push, Lee. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Yeah.
Oh, God, make it perfect.
You lose. It's a boy.
Oh, let me see him. Oh, he's so beautiful. Oh, lovely.
Isn't he a beauty? Isn't he?
Oh, doctor, I feel so good. I feel so happy. Oh, doctor, he's so beautiful.
Try and get some rest now, dear.
Oh.
You've worked very hard.
Oh.
Dr. Ruskin?
Something wrong?
Did I ever tell you I was born in a railway station in Kiev?
I thought it was at the monastery.
That was my brother Jacob. May he rest in peace.
Why are they taking so long?
Oh, some women take longer. My mother said she was in labor with me for 36 hours. And afterwards she had to get up and make Shabbos. Oh, my father was a hard man, like a stone. Didn't believe in cuddling women. And there was no doctors.
Look.
Congratulations, Mr. Coleman. You got a fine boy. 7 pounds, 8 ounces.
Oh, God!
How's Lee?
Fine. She had a small hemorrhage, but nothing to worry about. She's been in her room for a while now.
May I see her?
Sure. Come on.
Oh, doctor, could...
Give her a couple of hours. She's pretty tired.
I'll tell you here.
Tell her we love her.
Thanks, Gus. Lee had a boy. Doctor says she's gonna be all right.
Thank you.
Did you see? He talked to her. He spoke to her.
Why not?
What's wrong with her arm? What's wrong with her fingers? Her arm's bleeding. Nails are blue. What's wrong?
Nurse! Dr. Ruskin, I have a hemolytic reaction here. Mrs. Lee Coleman. I want her taken down to the intensive care unit immediately. What? Oh, all right, I'll bring her down myself. Stay here with her. I'll get a stretcher. Where did that blood come from?
I beg your pardon?
Somebody gave her the wrong blood. Can't you people read? Get Dr. Pryor. Move. And get an orderly to bring me a stretcher.
Yes, doctor.
I'm sorry, Mr. Coleman.
What happened? I don't understand.
Your wife got the wrong blood.
Dr. Wojeck, this is Dr. Ruskin, our resident in obstetrics. Dr. Pryor of our kidney unit. And Mr. Fleming, who's in charge of the blood bank.
Ruskin, was you called?
Intravascular hemolysis.
Oh, come, Dr. Ruskin. How can we be sure of that without a post-mortem examination?
You may not be sure of it, but I am. She got the wrong blood.
How could she get the wrong blood?
I don't know, but I'm going to find out.
It was just a little postpartum hemorrhage. I stopped it. I did it by manual compression and tamponed the uterus. I stopped it. She would have been all right. She would have been fine. For God's sake, how did it happen?
Well, is there another patient in the hospital with the same name? Is there?
I don't think so.
Could you check and find out, please? How come there's no identification on her wrist? How's the baby?
Fine. Little boy.
And the husband?
He's down at the nursery.
How much blood did you give her?
What?
How much blood did you give her?
Just whatever's missing from that bag and 500 cc's in the operating room.
Did you do the workup on her?
Yes.
Is there a
history of myocardial or vascular degenerative disease?
She didn't mention it.
Sir Wills could be right. You can't be sure it was a hemolytic reaction. Could have been a circulatory overload. A pulmonary edema. Well, Mr. Wills?
There's no other patient in the hospital with a similar name.
Bruno Lentz, please. Yes, I know it's late. Tell him it's Steve Wojeck. Good morning, Bruno. Can you do an autopsy for me this morning? That's right. Good, thank you.
We could do the autopsy right here. We have a pathology department.
No thanks, Mr. Wills. I remember the last autopsy your hospital performed. Forgetting to mention the clamp you found on the woman's stomach? You wrap this up so I can take it with me. No, just bring whatever you want to wrap it in here. You'll make sure my people get the right body.
Where are you going?
I never want to see him again.
Jerry, you are doing the same thing to your child as they did to Lee.
Myocarditis you can forget about. You can also forget about any vascular disease. She was as healthy as a horse.
So Ruskin was right. It was intravascular hemolysis.
Wait, not so fast. I didn't say that. We'll wait until we hear from the blood chemistry boys. It might be intravascular hemolysis. It might be a circulatory overload. She was healthy. She had normal circulating blood volume, eh? Well, that's when the danger of circulatory overload is greatest. She was still out from the anesthetic, so she couldn't tell them about the symptoms. So you'll have to wait. If the blood chemistry boys don't find a mismatch, you'll know that she died because she got too much blood in too short a time. What did you tell me? They gave her about 750 cc's in less than 1 hour? Tell me, Steve, where were the nurses? Well, didn't anybody look in on her? I mean, all I had to do was look at her fingers to see the peripheral failure. Let me tell you, if I was that woman's husband, I'd sue the hospital for every cent I could get. Hit them right where it hurts them, right in their pocketbooks. Steve, you want an educated guess? But it's unofficial till I hear from the lab, okay?
Yeah.
My educated guess is this. Not only did they give her the wrong blood, but they gave her too much of it, too soon. I mean, that poor woman didn't have a chance.
Steve, is there anything I can do?
Yeah, put a lock on the hospital door, that's what you can do. Stand outside and warn the people. Tell them not to go in.
Thanks, Bruno.
For what? For proving that some of the people in our profession are a bunch of incompetents?
I'll see you at the inquest.
Come on, little fella. Come on. There. I'm going to give you some lunch. That's a good boy. That's it. That's a good boy. Oh, you little pig.
That the Coleman baby?
Oh, yes.
How is he?
Oh, he's fine. Such a good baby. What's going to happen to him? The grandparents have been around. If Mr. Coleman doesn't take his son, they're going to do something. I know. They want the baby. Ed, go and see him. Mr. Coleman, I mean. Tell him.
I thought we might have a little drink, all right?
Yeah, fine. Glasses are on the counter.
You put it down, the painting.
I saw. You're going to say something about the baby, or should I?
I don't know. How can I tell him what to do?
How? How can you not?
Oh, it's so easy. You say it. You tell him.
I can't. I mean, I don't know how to say it. I know what I want to say, but...
But what?
Maybe tomorrow. Oh. I mean, he just got back from the funeral. It's going to be like rubbing salt.
So?
Oh, we have a talk, we have a drink.
What, Gus?
Oh, what should we drink to? My God, who should we drink to?
No! You want to drink to someone, drink to me. Drink to yourselves. You drink to anyone, but not to her. Come on, there's a million things to drink to.
All right. I'll drink to your son.
You bitch.
I shouldn't talk. I should pretend you don't have a son. No, you pretend. You love this little life out of your heart. Not me, I couldn't. At least give him a name.
Drinky? Thanky?
Arnie, what about that hospital?
Oh, no, Steve. Come on now. We agreed, eh? No shop talk. Just a friendly steak and a couple of bottles of wine. And I've got just the bottles.
For God's sake, Arnie, will you hold still for a minute? I need your help. We got to do something about it.
What do you mean, we? What about the CMA? Or the CHA? Or that fancy Royal College of... whatever it is. You got a beef with the hospital, you have your own people look after it. What about the Council for Hospital Accreditation?
That council is a pack of... and you know it. They've got any power to enforce standards.
Well, that's the medical profession's problem. If your colleagues tolerate non-functional organizations, that's your problem.
No, Arnie, that's your problem. If you ever have to go into a hospital. Do you know how many ways they can kill you without anyone ever knowing anything about it? They can give you a drug you're allergic to. They can put an endotracheal tube into your esophagus instead of your windpipe. That can turn you into a vegetable just like that. And you can be infected by the hospital's own staph bug, Staphylococcus aureus. And there's faulty diagnostic workup, rotten surgery, inadequate nursing care, and there's just ordinary plain negligence, like forgetting to put up crib sides on beds. Old people fall out and bust a hip or a shoulder. And don't you ever forget blood transfusion error. That's your problem, Arnie. The minute you become a patient in the hospital. And you will. Everybody does.
He's gonna have a hernia operation.
Well, I'm going to get the steaks.
I guess I better go and hold his hand.
Be nice, Steve.
Here, what do you want?
You really have to go into the hospital, Arnie?
Yes.
When?
As soon as a bed's available.
Which hospital?
Gunner Pavilion.
That's about the best there is in the continent, eh?
Steve, what you said about Memorial, is that true?
You read the inquest reports, Arnie. You know how many times they've appeared over the last 14 months? You know they can't get any interns there? There isn't a medical grad in the city who'll do his internship there.
You want to get the wine?
Why?
Pardon?
Well, why do you do the PVP test when you can almost exclude the possibility of a hemolytic reaction with an indirect Coombs?
It was the only test being done here when I arrived. Gradually, I've introduced the Coombs method.
How long have you been here?
2 years.
Is there something wrong, Doctor?
Well, at least 7 years ago, any good textbook on hematology could have given you a complete description of Coombs testing. 7 years ago. Now, who was on duty that night?
Which night?
The night Mrs. Coleman was killed.
Dr. Wojeck.
Come on, Mr. Wills, enough of this fancy dancing run. What the hell do you think I'm doing here? Playing games? I've got the report from the blood chemistry people. You want to see it?
Was it a mismatch?
Yes, it was a mismatch.
Could we go to my office, Dr.
Look,
Wojeck?
if I don't get my answers right now, I'll just summon everybody in this entire blood bank. Now, who was on duty that night? Who handed out that wrong bag of blood? Now, somebody in this room helped kill that woman. Now, who was it?
Doctor, it was me. I was alone. It was a busy night. Busy in emergency. Busy in OBS. I've been running all night. I guess when they called from the delivery room for blood for Mrs. Coleman, I didn't read the card right.
You were alone. They don't come up here for the blood. You take it down. You leave the place unattended.
That's the routine here.
Is that right? Is it?
I've been trying to get extra people for night duty since I came here.
Well, if it's of any help, you're not totally to blame. Mrs. Coleman received a circulatory overload. It stinks, Mr. Wills. This entire setup absolutely reeks with indifference and negligence. Tell me something. Is it possible that someone else's blood could have been placed and typed under Mrs. Coleman's name?
I think that's probably what did happen. I do not think that Ina is responsible.
If that's the case, it seems to me quite possible for someone else to have received the blood meant for Mrs. Coleman. Did you get two that night?
You expecting somebody new?
My lover. I taught him to take before.
Very funny. Ha, ha, ha.
Who is it?
Dr. Ruskin.
Who?
Ed Ruskin, the doctor from the hospital. Could I talk to you, Mrs. Lefkowitz?
Listen, it could be the police.
They wouldn't have buzzed first.
Isn't Mr. Coleman in?
Did you buzz him?
Yes.
Did he answer?
No.
Ergo, he's not in. Logic.
Mrs. Lefkowitz, how are you?
Oh, thank you.
We have here what might be called a precarious enterprise. We can't be too careful. Would you like a sample of our enterprise?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you or no thank you?
Yes, thank you.
We have VO, VVO, and VVVO. The very, very, very old is at least a year old.
Where is Mr. Coleman?
I don't know.
It's important, Mrs. Lefkowitz. I've got to see him.
I told told you I don't know. We haven't seen him since the funeral, since after. What's so important?
Here.
What is that?
She says it's vodka.
What do you mean, says? It is. L'chaim.
What does that mean?
That means to life.
Lucky him. Oh, my God, what is that?
Snappy, huh?
Snappy. I haven't had anything like that since I was a medical student and swiped surgical alcohol.
See, I told you it was pure. $2.80 a bottle. You want to buy a case? No taxes.
No, thanks. What proof is that? It's like absolute alcohol.
Oh, Shmoof, it's an honest drink, and you won't go blind.
You don't have any orange juice or anything like that?
We have some cream soda.
Your grandfather? Your father?
Trotsky. My dead leader.
Doctor, why do you want to see Jerry?
Well, I wanted to tell him that he'd better get his son out of the hospital. His wife's parents are going to start a custody action in the courts.
What do you mean?
They're going to try to get custody of the baby.
What? They want to take away this little life from his own father.
My dead body.
And how are you, Mr. Lefkowitz?
Oh, very fine, doctor, very fine. How are you?
What have you got in the bag? You haven't got customers in the hospital.
Doctor.
Ed? Ed! Ed, the Coleman baby's gone.
What?
Ed, the baby was there a moment ago. I took some bottles to the sterilizer, and when I came back, he was gone.
Paper bag. We'd better tell Mr.
Wilman's requesting you to appear at the inquest into the death of Mrs. Jerry Coleman.
I don't want it. I'm not going to take it.
No?
Absolutely not.
The law says that if a witness refuses to accept the summons, the officer serving it can throw it at the witness's feet. That's held to be good service. Good day, sir.
Mr. Wells, the Coleman baby is missing.
What?
I couldn't have been away from the nursery more than a minute or so. Just as long as it would take to take the bottles to the sterilizer. I told Dr. Ruskin.
Are you Edward Ruskin? What? Are you Dr. Edward Ruskin?
Yes, who are you?
I'm Sergeant Byron James of the coroner's office. This is a summons requesting you to appear at the inquest into the death of Mrs. Jerry Coleman. And somebody better get on the phone to the police right away.
Where have you been? I'm going out of my mind.
Never mind. Wait till you see what I got here. Look.
What is it?
It's Jerry's son.
Oh, my God! You stole! You stole that from the hospital!
Darling, you know who's upstairs? Your daddy. We're going to bring you upstairs, and then we're going to shake hands, and you'll be friends.
What here? Another one?
Diapers, bottles, food, things for the little life. Look. Look how lovely he is.
Why isn't the father here? Didn't you call him?
We tried. We were unable to get in touch with him.
Neither one of you saw anybody up in the nursery?
No one. I told you.
No, but I was working in one of the nurseries.
I can't understand it. How could someone, a stranger, just walk in and kidnap the baby without anybody noticing? I can't understand.
I can. It's gross negligence. Gross negligence, Mr. Wills. The lives of the people in this hospital are the responsibility of your staff. You. I wish there was some way I could charge you as an accomplice in this kidnapping.
Well, we're not sure this is a kidnapping, Mr. Roberts.
What would you call it, officer? An accident? What would you call it? My grandson is gone, isn't he? He didn't walk out.
Well, nothing. Must be a million doors in this building. Whoever did it could have taken the nipper out of any one of them. Nobody saw anything.
Except for one of the guys that runs an elevator. He says he picked up a funny old guy on that floor. He says the old guy was carrying a shopping bag.
What's so strange about that?
Well, he says the old guy was holding it funny and singing to it.
You better check and see if one of your patients is missing from the psychiatric floor.
Is there anything else you need me for?
Oh, no thanks, Doctor. I'm sorry I had to keep you this long. You can go, miss.
Do you know where I'd find a detective sergeant called Byron James?
Yeah, at the coroner's office.
Thanks.
Have
you got a dime?
Ed, you told that policeman that you were in the nursery. But I saw you in the hall when I came back from the sterilizer.
Well, isn't that strange? I wonder why I said that. Excuse me.
I don't care who it is. You can't go around snatching kids from hospitals.
It's not a snatch, Steve. The old guy didn't feel the grandparent should have custody of the child.
All the father had to do was go down to the hospital.
Steve, I keep telling you, Mr. Coleman's still hung up over his wife's death. I guess he feels the kid's responsible. It happens that way sometimes.
And you think if I call the police, everything's going to be all right?
Just explain the situation. We know where the baby is.
You know, I'd have given $100 to have seen Will's face when he discovered the kid was missing.
Mr. Coleman?
Yeah.
My name is Quinlan. I'm a police officer. You mind if I come in? I'm afraid I've got some bad news for you. Your son's been kidnapped.
What? What?
Oh, the policeman. I told you, a policeman. That's all what we need, really. He comes in here, not only we got a kidnapped baby, we got a spill. Oh, I should have thrown you out 10 years ago with your crazy ideas.
Well, it's probably some woman that lost her own kid in that hospital. Wanted a baby desperately enough to kidnap one. I'll let you know the minute I find out anything. What's that smell?
He's coming down.
Not a word, not a sound. The Cossacks are in the temple. Shah, darling, Shah.
How are you, Sergeant?
You know Dr. Wojeck.
Doctor?
Sergeant.
Well, what are you doing here?
Serving a summons on Jerry Coleman.
Oh, leave the poor guy alone, will you? I just told him what happened to his kid. He's pretty shaken up. You heard what happened to the kid, didn't you? Somebody snatched it from the hospital.
No.
Yeah, he's taking it pretty badly.
Well, Byron, maybe he's right, eh? You can serve later on.
If you say so, Steve.
Yeah. Come on, let's go. Come in, Inspector?
Yeah, I guess so. Can I give you a lift?
No, thanks, Lou. No.
And deliver us from the hands of the Philistines.
Amen.
What are you doing here?
How'd you feel?
Drunk.
It'll wear off in a little while. Does it hurt?
I don't think so. Where's Pam gone?
How are you, darling?
Okay. Steve, how long are they going to keep me here?
Not long. A week or 10 days. Too many people waiting for beds.
Steve, I want to be at that inquest.
Get some rest, honey.
I want to be at that inquest, Steve.
No, sir. There was no general investigation. Two of us, Mr. Fleming and myself, tried to discover the source of the error. Neither of us was assisted by the hospital. As a matter of fact, we were warned to lay off.
By whom?
By the administration.
Who in particular?
Mr. Wills.
Can you tell us what he said?
Not verbatim. Just that if we let the whole thing die down, everybody would forget about it.
And did you?
How could I? She was my patient. I was responsible for her.
Were you able to discover the sources of the errors?
No, sir.
I have no further questions. Mr. Bateman.
Dr. Ruskin, just one question. If you and Mr. Fleming were unable to detect the source of error, is it not possible that every patient in your hospital who needs blood is in danger of being hemolyzed, or whatever the right term is?
Well, Doctor?
I'm afraid so.
In God's name, Doctor, what are you going to do about it?
You may step down, Dr. Ruskin.
That concludes the list of witnesses, Mr. Coroner.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard all the evidence. You've heard the pathologist say, Dr. Lintz, that the death was caused by a circulatory overload. You've heard the blood chemist state that an incompatible blood type is present in the blood system of the deceased. This mismatch alone could have caused death. You have also heard the testimony of the hospital staff, an administration that prevented a full inquiry by the medical staff, and Mr. Fleming, who told me he'd do his best to find out how this mismatch was made possible and didn't, and a nurse who put up the fresh blood supply for the deceased but is unable to tell us how this flow was increased to a dangerous and indeed fatal level. And a doctor who agrees he has a responsibility to the patients in his care, and when asked what he was going to do about preventing future needless deaths, is unable to come up with an answer. We are unable to point our fingers and say you or you or you are responsible. We are unable to do this because none of these people have been honest. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, in your verdict, you must consider the hospital responsible for the gross negligence. I put it to you that one of these days, some of you, if not all of you, will be patients in a hospital. Keep that possibility in your minds when you make your recommendations and when you consider all the facts as you have heard them here today. Thank you. You shall well and truly keep the jury upon this inquiry, and shall not suffer any person to speak to them, nor shall you speak to them yourself, unless it be to ask them if they have agreed on their verdict, until they shall be agreed. So help you God.
So help me God.
Fantastic. Nobody's leaving. Not even for a cigarette.
Probably all thinking of something other than cigarettes.
You want some coffee?
We're sorry. I'm sorry. Let's go home.
Forgive us, Jerry. Please. Now, here.
What the?
Go, Loretti, go.
Oh.
What was that? I don't know.
They should be at his door now. Now, they're opening it. Now, they're going in. And now.
Gus, B. Gus!
What? Jeremy?
It's my kid. It's my son.
Go now.
Hey, Grandpa! Want to drink a drink to the little life?
I'd be proud to.
Good!
Oh.